Hello there and good evening to you. You're welcome to State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. Thank you very much for staying tuned. And on State of Affairs this evening, we want to talk a little bit about politics. We want to talk about what's been happening in the country since the new administration took over and a few other things in between. And the individual who is joining us on State of Affairs this evening needs no introduction. He's one who has been in political circles for a very long time. And of course, he was one of the main people in the run-up to the 2024 elections for the Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign. And we're very happy that this evening he has joined us here in the studio for us to have a conversation about all of these issues that have come up in the aftermath of the election. And of course, for the new Patriotic Party moving forward, what is it looking like for them? How are they reorganizing to come back in 2024 to try and capture power again? And so we're going to be having all of those conversations this evening here on State of Affairs on GHOne Television. Like I mentioned, my guest was the vice chairman for the 2024 Bawumia campaign team, and his name is Nana Akomea. Nana, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
It's good to see you. It's good to have you here.
It's good to see you too. I haven't been here in a while.
Yeah, I mean, since the elections ended, we've not seen you here.
I mean, this is the first time you have invited me, so it's all in your hands.
Yeah, but we're very happy that you've
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here.
How is life in opposition?
Well, this is not my first time in opposition. Yeah, I was in opposition. The first time was 1997 to 2000 during the second part of Jerry Rawlings' presidency. I was in opposition, and then we came into government 2001 to 2008. President Kufuor. Yeah. And then we went back into opposition in 2009 to 2016. Mills Mahama. And so this is maybe the third or fourth time that I found myself in opposition.
Is there anything different about this one? I mean,
well,
you've been in opposition a number of times. You've been in government, as well. You just exited government.
Well,
is it different? Anything different about it?
Being in government is more exciting because the whole purpose of politics is to be in government, so that the vision that you have or the contribution that you believe you can make to national development, it's being in government that gives you the opportunity. So it's more exciting when you are in government, because that you get a chance to do why you are in politics. In opposition, it's more relaxing. It's more relaxing. The stress is way down compared to when you are in government. But that's the main difference. Being in government is more exciting, of course more stressful, but more exciting, and it gives you the chance to do what you can as a politician. In opposition, you don't get a chance, and so you spend a lot of your time trying to see how you can come back. Yeah. So the next 4 years, that is how I am going to spend my time, to look at the difficulties that may come our way and point it out to the government, point it out to Ghanaians, and hoping that in the next cycle, the Ghanaian people may bring us back.
And with this new administration that has taken over, we know that a lot of MDs of state-owned institutions, were relieved of their posts.
Yeah.
I mean, some resigned even before. What was it in your case? Did you resign?
Actually,
from the STC,
Yes, I resigned 2 weeks ago. But, it's funny we are talking about this today because this afternoon I went back to hand over formally to my successor, a nice gentleman who's come to take over from me. And there's a management meeting today, and I was invited. And I went, and then we did a formal handing over before management just today.
Oh, okay.
But I actually, the company organized a farewell derby for me 2 weeks ago, at which I said my goodbyes and farewells. And then today we did a formal handing over.
Right. Are you going to miss the place, being at STC?
Yes.
I mean, this is somewhere that you wanted.
Yes. Because I was there for 7.5 years.
Yeah, so be sent there.
Obviously, it would always be my thoughts. Yeah.
But what was the state of, the STC? In what condition are you leaving the STC for this government?
The silver lining is that we've managed to order about 22 buses with our own money, and we are hoping that the buses will come in April. And when they come, it will give the company a new lease of life. Currently, the company was really done badly by the COVID, especially. Working at a place like STC brought home to me very, very forcefully the need to have macro stability in the economy for businesses to prosper and for the economy to grow. There is no other way. When you have macro instability, you are done. You can't do anything. When you look at the performance of the company between 2017 and 2019, those first 3 years, when there was relative macro stability and the city was relatively stable, interest rates were relatively stable and low, the growth rates were quite good. You look at the performance of STC in that period, it was phenomenal. We doubled our revenue from 2.3 million cedis a month to over 5 million cedis a month. We even paid government nearly $2 million. We bought 100 buses on our own balance sheet and so on. And then when the new buses came and met COVID. The buses came in February, COVID came in March 2020. And it was an extremely difficult period. One, the borders were closed, and 40% of our business came from the Francophone. We are one of the biggest carriers between Côte d'Ivoire or Abidjan and Cotonou and Lomé and Ouagadougou. And it's about 40% of our business came from the Francophone traffic. That was shut down. In fact, Abidjan terminal alone was able to pay the salaries of nearly the 800 workers that you have at STC. So all of that was shut down for 3 years. But more devastating was the macro instability, because your cost as a transport organization were mainly two: fuel and spare parts. And when there's macro instability and the city is not stable and the value keeps falling as it did 2022, 2021, 2022, your cost in terms of the money you spent on fuel, the money you spent on spare parts, just kept rising. Your revenue, which is the fares that you charge, is determined by bureaucracy. So you can't just increase bus fares or trotro fares just because fuel prices have gone up or spare parts prices have gone up. So you have to take the shock. So for 3 years, that was the situation in which we found ourselves. We lost some monies that we had put aside to pay for arrears and so on. We lost all of that in the banking crisis. Our cost every day was going up. At one point, when you paid for fuel and you paid for spare parts and you paid salaries, you were left with nothing. Now, in the period, the first 3 years when the macro situation was stable, fuel was about 26% of our costs, spare parts to another 10% or so. So we had a good margin. And we did a lot of things, paid a lot of arrears, introduced enhanced services for passengers, including free meals and so on. Between 2022 and 2023, fuel went up to about 62% of our cost. So you can imagine, you added spare parts. That is it. The business was gone. Fortunately, the macro situation is better. And but then our buses too are now old. You know, in this transport business, after 4 years, you really are expected to change your fleet. Some of the buses are 10 years old. The majority of them are about 5-6 years old. You know, so they give us a lot of breakdowns. But fortunately, we've managed to order 22 new buses, and when they come, I'm sure the company will have a new leash of life.
Are you proud of the work you've done with the STC?
I would have been
proud.
You have to ask the staff, the workers. I wouldn't like to.
I mean, we'll ask the staff if they are proud of you, but I'm asking you yourself. I mean, looking at how you perform. Are you proud of the work that you've been able to do with the STC?
I definitely would. Well, it could be better if the macro situation was better. It would have been. I mean, if the trajectory in the first 3 years had continued in tandem with the macro situation, STC would have been in a far, far better state. But all those gains were eroded when the economy went downhill, and you had to, whatever revenue you got was swallowed up with the cost, and you couldn't increase your revenues because your revenue is determined by bureaucracy. Going forward, there are a couple of things that, as a country, we must look at if we want the transport industry to be viable and sustainable. Because you see, transport is the economy, or the economy is transport. When COVID came, what was the problem? There was no movement, and that caused the difficulty. So when there's movement, and the faster the movement is, the economy grows. So going forward, the situation where you have costs determined by the market, price of fuel, price of spare parts, but your revenue is determined by bureaucracy, we should change it. We should have some kind of, you can't have a one-to-one benchmark, because you also don't want transport costs, to be going through the roof. But you should have a benchmark where you can say a 10% benchmark to a 6%. So when fuel goes up by 10% over a period, it triggers, let's say, a 5% or a 6% rise in transport, so that there will be some kind of relationship between cost and revenue. The current situation where immediately your costs change, you have to deal with it. Because once the fuel price changes, you go to the pumps the next day, and you have faced with it.
And you can't adjust
you can't adjust your cost.
Yeah.
That situation cannot, in the long term, be good for the transport industry. And also, we have to be able to, some low-hanging fruits, like as the city authorities should be able to do bus lanes, reserves lanes for just buses. If you take the biggest commercial route, Accra Kumasi, it's about 260 kilometers.
Yeah.
It takes 7 hours. 7 hours to do a 250 kilometer. It should be less. But there's a lot of construction going on and all of that.
No, traffic. Yeah, and a lot of traffic on the road.
But from Nkrumah Circle, before you hit the highway at Sawam, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. All of that is just burning fuel, sitting in traffic. We need to take a bold decision that we would do bus lanes for commercial transport. We have to do it. Even if the lane is a single lane, we must reserve one lane for buses.
They tried it with the Ayalolo buses, but
it's all political determination.
Yeah.
Once we have a determined leadership, we can do it. We must prioritize it, and leadership. Once leadership prioritizes it, it can be done.
All right. Let's talk about the 2024 election. I mean, obviously, the NPP lost. Were you surprised?
I was disappointed at the scale of the loss. But we all knew that it was 50-50. We always knew we were coming from behind. I mean, everybody knew that the state of the economy. I mean, we know COVID played a role, other things played a role, but the average voter, if your father is unemployed and is not able to provide your needs as a child, a student, you would always be resentful of your father, isn't it? It may be that your father lost his job, but you would be resentful. People, the Ghanaian electorate was resentful at the economic difficulties, and we knew we were going to suffer for it. As of the early part of 2024, January, February, we're trailing about 10 points behind GHOne Mahama. But when the campaign kicked off, Bawumia came in November 2023. In January, February, Mahama was about 10% ahead of us. But as the campaign was launched and the campaign went to full stream, we kept narrowing the gap. We knew it was going to be, we knew we were coming from behind. And by October, September, we knew we were catching up. So we thought we had a good chance of a runoff, in which in a runoff anything can happen. So we knew we were at the underdogs, and that and all the polls showed that we were the underdogs. It's just that.
But there were some polls which called it. There were some polls which called it for the NPP. There were some predictions which were made in favor of the NPP, and of course there was one which also did it for a runoff.
Yes, like I said, as the campaign got nearer to December, we were catching up. The Bawumia ran a very intensive campaign. I'm sure you would bear testimony to that. And as we kept monitoring, we were catching up fairly well. And we thought by October, that we were just about level. And that if we were going to lose, it wasn't going to be by that margin. So the shock was the extent of the loss.
It's not something that you anticipated, or
no, we hadn't
expected that.
I don't think even the NDC, even though they knew they were ahead, because of the 8-year thing, then we were faced with the state of the Ghanaian economy. The NDC knew they were ahead, but I don't think even they expected the margin of victory that they got. So really, that is the shock.
But have you recovered from the shock?
Not quite. it's still early. We haven't recovered. For me, my regret is that I still think that Dr. Bawumia's policies that he was going to introduce were some of the best policies I have seen.
So why didn't the people buy into the policies if they were one of some of the best policies that you've seen? Why didn't the people care about the policies that the NPP had to offer?
What the party has done is put in place a committee of very learned people, and we have asked them to find out in a scientific way the key reasons why we lost on that. And you see, the unique thing about the last election was that our supporters just stayed away from the polls. If you look at the people who voted for us in 2020 and the numbers that voted for us in 2024, there's a fall of 2 million. Now, those 2 million votes that we lost did not go to the NDC.
But you believe that all those 2 million votes are votes that were for the NPP or votes that would have gone to the NPP?
They voted for us.
They voted certain that all those 2 million people are people who are NPP supporters?
I'm saying that 2 million people who voted for us in 2020 didn't vote for us in 2024.
Yeah.
That is plain and simple fact. Now, you look at our opponents, those 2 million didn't go to them because GHOne Mahama had just an extra 100,000 or so. And if you look at the increase in the voters register, getting 100,000 extra really wasn't much. So the 2 million people, in our view, didn't go to vote at all. So obviously they are disappointed, and we need to find out what were the key reasons why they were so disappointed that they didn't make the effort.
I mean, is there anything you can point to off the top of your head? I mean, you talked about the economy, people being fed up with how the economy was looking. I mean, is that the only thing, or there are other things that, off the top of your head, even before the committee comes out with their reports, you can point to that? Okay, Ghanaians were not happy about ABC.
I would prefer that the committee that we have set in place is able to do their work and come out with a true report on why 2 million of our supporters stayed away. I'm sure the economy will be a factor, but there may be other factors, maybe internal party organization, maybe the way the campaign went. I don't know. We have to wait for the committee to finish its work.
I mean, recently the vice president was at Harvard, right? And
yes.
he said that he was ridiculed by the NDC for championing digitalization.
Yeah.
I mean, was that really the case, or was it probably a case of wrong timing for such a campaign message? For the 2024 elections, perhaps the digitalization
message,
yes, wasn't the message that was right for the time.
When you look at the NPP manifesto, in fact, the most exciting part, and I would wish that you take a bit of time to look at it.
Right.
The most exciting parts of the Bawumia's ideas, as captured in the manifesto, was the macroeconomic policies. They were the most exciting. How he's going to stabilize the city. How he's going to cut the deficit. Look, he said we would have to expand the tax net. He showed you very clearly how he's going to do it. And I think I had spoken to some of these issues the last time I met with you. the NDC will state that we would expand the tax net, and that's it. Look into their manifesto. But Bawumia showed you how he would do it.
But did this message really go down? Because there was a narrative that Dr. Bawumia was
if you look at
in charge of the economy, but was running away from speaking about the economy.
Yeah, so
focusing on digitalization and all of that. So did that message really go to the people?
You know, bad news travels faster. So it was easy to say, he's in charge of the economy. He's messed up the economy. If the economy was good, they would have found another message. So I don't blame them. You look at what would, advance your cause. So I don't have a problem. They said, he's talking about digitalization.
Yeah.
But in the world today, today's world, if you take maybe the 10 biggest companies in the world, they are all companies in the digital business. Software. So you can't downplay digitalization. And I'm sure if the NDC has started making noises about digitalization, but they poo-pooed it in the election and tried to throw Bawumia under the bus using the macro difficulties. Well, I don't blame them for it. But he didn't run away from the economy. It's just that because the economy was in difficulty, all the NDC had to do, and the economy was in difficulty. I mean,
but did he own up to it? Did he own up to, yes, I'm in charge of the economy is difficult, but I'm going to do A, B, C, D to fix it, and I've already started doing A, B, C, D to fix it. Did that message really go down well, to the electorate? Because that was the main knock on Dr. Bawumia, like as you've admitted, from the NDC, that he's running away from the economy. And when he was in opposition, he was organizing all of these lectures when the NDC were also handling the economy. And, that gained him a lot of traction. But listen, so all the things that he said, he should be able to do them even in this situation.
Bawumia launched his campaign at UPS, University of Professional Studies.
Yes.
You were there, or you weren't?
We were there.
You saw what he talked about. You heard what he talked about. The economy was a primary feature in that inaugural campaign. When he met you, the media, at where did he meet you, the media? The hotel.
That was at the
yes.
That was.
And
was it at the Kempinski Hotel?
You asked him questions. It was like that one was for the media too. A lot of the questions were on the economy. So every chance that he got, he talked about the economy, where we were, and how he's going to take us out of where we were. Compare it to GHOne Mahama. He's now going to organize an economic dialogue. And he says that, which means that he's now going to see how he's going to take us out as a result of the dialogue.
I mean, but the NDC did have some pointers in their manifesto about how they also talked about widening the tax net, cutting some taxes.
How did they tell you that they were going to widen the tax net? Do you remember? Because they didn't tell you. But Bawumia said that the Ghana card, you remember, the Ghana card now positively identifies 17 million Ghanaians. And the tax thing was a matter of identity. Now you can identify 17 million Ghanaians. Out of these 17 million, people like you and myself who were in formal employment, and so it could be identified for tax purposes because our records were there. We are just about 4 or 5 million. The rest did not have any identity and so could not be reached for tax purposes. The Ghana card now gives 17 million an identity. You take out the 4 million who are in formal employment, you are looking at about 13 million. You take out 3 million who are students above 18 and not working. You are looking at 8 to 9 million people who are in informal employment. But now they can be identified because all of them have the Ghana card. So the task now is to reach them. And Bawumia said the painter, the mason, the electrician, who would all come and do work in your home and charge you 200 cedis workmanship and so on. The tiler, somebody will come and paint your house. Christmas just went by, they charge you. They didn't pay any tax at all. They now can be identified by the Ghana tax. They'll pay a flat rate, say 100 cedis a month. You pay on your phone. You don't have to go anywhere and fill forms in there that you don't understand. Pay on your phone, 100 cedis a month. When you are in informal employment. So you are going to look at 8 to 9 million people who are outside the formal tax bracket, now coming in, paying 100 cedis or 50 cedis a month, every month. And that is how Bawumia said, we are going to identify the people, and this is how we will expand the tax net. NDC didn't have anything like that. The cedi, Bawumia said, we're going to use the gold to underpin the cedi. The geological survey tells us there are about 43,000 square miles of this country where they are proving gold deposits. There's going to be a focus on exploitation of this gold. It's going to be a refinery that will refine this gold into the international bullion standard, so that gold can be a reserve currency. And you know, gold is a currency. It's an international currency. And we have gold. When you go to many of these countries with stable currencies, they have thousands of tons of gold. So, and anytime you are, let's say you have some gold part of your, anytime you are in trouble, you go to it. You go to it.
Yeah. But all of these seem not to have landed, you know, or resonated with the Ghanaian voter.
Well, so obviously the current situation that the Ghanaian voter was in obviously played a big role. But for us, the 2 million people, supporters who did not vote for us, we want to speak to them, and so we can get a definite information about why they didn't vote. And then from there, we would use that to start reorganizing our party.
We'll talk a little bit about that, but we need to take a break here. And let me remind you that you're still watching State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. My guest in the studio this evening is Nana Akomea, of course. He's known very well in political circles in the New Patriotic Party. Needs no introduction. We've been talking about STC, we've been talking about the NPP, we've been talking about the elections. Let me remind you that you can buy now and pay later with Metro. You can buy a sleek and trendy smartphone and enjoy the luxury of paying in convenient weekly or monthly installment plans. All you have to do is walk into any of MTN service centers and choose your favorite from a wide range of mobile phones that are on offer. And the best part is that all the phones come with up to 2 gigabytes free data, so you can share your pictures and get all the biggest scoops online for the first 6 months after purchase. So go on and share the exciting news with your family and your friends and stay connected on the smart side of life. MTN and Metro are making this possible, and of course you should know that MTN is everywhere you go. And still speaking about MTN, if you're a small or medium scale enterprise, there is MTN Yellow Biz, which is a great way for you to help you improve your business, right? Everything that is a business solution that you need, they've got it for you. 4G router with 10 gigabytes free data, genuine Microsoft applications, WebWiz, Unicom services, you just name it. All your conferencing needs, everything is in there, all for a very good deal that you don't want to miss. So with MTN Yellow Biz, your business is going to gain access to advanced productivity tools and a powerful online presence and superior customer experience to optimize your operation. So stay ahead of the competition. Call them 100, just dial it, or you can call 0244 308 111 or send an email to mtn at mtnbusiness.gh@mtn.com, or better still, you can just go to any MTN office and you will get served. Do remember that terms and conditions apply. We'll take a short break here. When we return, we'll continue with the rest of the conversation. This is State of Affairs on GHOne Television. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. My guest in the studio this evening is Nana Akomea. He was vice chairman of the Bawumia campaign team in the 2024 elections, and we've been having a conversation about some of the issues that came up in the run-up to the election, and we've also talked a little bit about his 7.5-year service at the STC, where he served as managing director, among other things. So I'm still reminding you that you can go to MTN if you're a small or medium scale business and get MTN Yellow Biz, which offers you every solution to make sure that your business is running and running effectively. Call 100 or call 0244 308 111. You can also go to MTN and get yourself a very nice smartphone, but pay later. Buy now, pay later. And it's MTN and some Metro that are doing this. Get a sleek and trendy smartphone and just enjoy it, right? Enjoy everything that you enjoy with your smartphone, right? And share this exciting news with your friends and family and stay connected. All you need to do is just walk into any of MTN service centers and choose your favorite from a wide range of products and phones that are on offer. But back to our conversation. I was looking at our Facebook live stream and I was seeing some of the comments that were there. Nana Akomea, and another said, one of them said Nana Akomea for chairman of the NPP. Is this something that you'd want to get into? Would you want to take up a national executive position within the NPP?
Well, we just have to wait for the reports of the investigation to come in, and that should then guide our way forward for the party. So for me personally, that's just what I'm doing. I'm waiting for the work to be done, the causes of the disaffection to be identified, and then from there we will start reorganizing our party, and this kind of possibilities may then be considered at that stage.
Did the current leadership of the party do well?
Under the circumstances, when the party is in power, the gravity is with the executive, and the party leadership has to play a supportive role, but what determines the party's fortunes is really the executive. So under the circumstances, we had a young, vibrant general secretary. The chairman wasn't the kind of activist chairman that we have seen with some of the past chairmen, like Obeche Bilante of blessed memory, Makmenu, Peter Alajete, Machele, and so on. The chairman this time was somebody who was reserved, but he had a lot of respect, and he always liked to take decisions collectively within the National Executive Committee, the National Council, and so on.
Did that take something away? Because some people have made commentary that, because of his perhaps working behind the scenes nature or laid back nature and not, being at the forefront all the time, it may have been one of the reasons why the NPP didn't do
we would have to find out from the investigation. My concern is that the investigation, the method that they use in the investigation they've been asked to do, that the method is of such a nature that it will bring out the true worries of the people who didn't vote, who didn't go to the polling station to vote for the party. When we are able to achieve that, it will show us the way forward. And if it talks about the role of the chairman, then of course we'll factor it. So it is still a bit too early to be definite.
All right. But what's the way forward for the NPP? In the aftermath of all of this. Some are even saying that already there is jostling for who will come again. In the next election, the Kennedy Japan Bawumia rivalry has started and all of that. Is all of that healthy for the NPP?
Even that's normal with political party politicking. Even in the NDC, don't you hear stories about who's coming in 2028? So that kind of news is always exciting, and you news people, you feed on it, and you get some story Kennedy Japan, that's all, NDC is also throw up all the things because people are excited by it. So that is normal. But we just, the party is in a state of expectation. Normally, every 4 years, both big parties, NPP and DC, every 4 years, they get a chance to reorganize through elections to bring in new people from the ground polling station level. The NDC, they call them theirs branch. We call it polling station, right up to national and the flag bearer. So every 4 years, both parties get a chance to reorganize. So whatever the results has been, whether we won or lost, we're going to get a chance to reorganize from the ground up. But now that we lost on this scale, we want to find out why the people stayed away, to see if we can take lessons in the reorganization of the party. So we are in a state of expectation, as I speak, and much of the things that we'll do going forward will depend on the kind of results that come from the investigation, the Michael Quay committee.
All right, but how do you see the Mahama administration so far? Has he started well? Quite a number of things have been done, and he made some promises to fulfill within the first, 120 days. They did. I think they did a mini launch, tracking some of the promises that he made, and according to some of the actions that you've seen, he's done quite a number of the things that he said he was going to do, and we're still counting the days. CEOs have been appointed, ministers have been appointed, there's talk of oral, a whole lot is going on. What are your views of how John Mahama has been governing so far?
Well, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. What I'm happy about is that there's a 120-day pledge. So all of us can follow what is in that 120-day pledge and see how much he would achieve. In 120 is how many months? 4 months. So that is January, February, March, April. At the end of April, we'll have this conversation, and then we can actually mark, because he actually stated what he would do in the 120 days. So there's a clear marking scheme that all of us are going to use. But so far, there have been good success with the appointments. As far as I can remember, this is probably the fastest appointment window, because he's managed to do that in 2 weeks. Just about 2 weeks.
I mean, he said he was going to do it in 2 weeks.
Yes, and he did. And it looks like it's fairly been achieved. The cabinet is in place, save one or two positions. Many of the CEOs are in place. Like I said today, I handed over to my successor and all of that. So that one has been good. Many of the other things that we've seen that are catching the headlines, they've been a mixed bag. I mean, you take the terminations of the appointments. Now, if you are going to reset the country, like you said, the way these terminations are, how is that a reset? You remember when Mahama was, the last time he was president, in 2016, he made key appointments 1 week before he left office. I'm talking of appointments to constitutional bodies, like Auditor General. That's a major appointment. The SHRAG boss, I mean, that vacancy had been there for a year. He made the appointment about a week before he left office, but that vacancy had been there for a year. He increased the allowances by 60% and so. I mean, there was protest that how do you make these appointments 1 week before you leave? And he justified it. He said he was still president, and that as far as he's concerned, these appointments are in the national interest. And when the NPP came into office, took over in 2017, and there was some removals, some terminations.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see.
There were some. Yeah, there were some terminations with the NPP.
There's some removal. Yes,
some removals.
Some removals.
Yes.
This is what Mahama said. It's bad precedent for our governance. Mass sacking of workers by the NPP government is unacceptable. Hashtag one Ghana, one people. And he made a second one, all on X. These workers, GHOne Mahama himself, these workers are all citizens and like all Ghanaians have rights which must be protected. So 2016 you made appointments into very, very high offices of state and a lot of other appointments. Some of these appointments were terminated by the government that came 1 week after. And you said that the terminations are bad. So when you come back and you say you are going to reset, I don't expect you to be doing the same things that you had condemned.
But it's the warnings were given during the transition that, you are making all of these recruitments, which, as a transition team, they felt that they are not comfortable about, and it's something that was talked about. But the government still went ahead and did all of these recruitments.
You sit here,
and they had warned that if the government did that,
no
and came, they would revoke it.
You sit here every day and you speak to them. I imagine, because that's your job. Have they told you how many appointments have been made after 7th December? Where? Which organization? How many people? That if you say, Gapoha, from 8th to 20th or 31st December.
They talk about appointments that have been made after 7th December, because after 7th December, the NPP knew they had lost the election.
I'm saying, have they told you?
All of those, recruitments that were made after 7th December is something which should not have been done. That's what they are looking at.
And I'm saying to you, because you speak to them every day, have they told you which appointments at which organization have been made after 7th December? Have they told you? Have they? Now, like I'm saying, they made appointments after 7th December when they lost power, and they not just some middle level, lower level appointments. The appointments included appointments to constitutional bodies. They made those appointments a week before they left office, and several lower level appointments. And they said that they were still in office. They still had executive power, and what the appointments were in the national interest. So when you now have a chance, and then when some of these appointments were terminated, you spoke against it. Now you say you're going to reset, put the country on a different path, and then you are doing the same evil things. And even though the letter that they issued said after 7th December, a lot of these terminations are being done to people who were employed before December. You saw the letter from the Ghana Water Company.
Well, the Ghana Water Company said they had the capacity.
Sorry?
They said they didn't have the capacity, and in spite of, protesting, still a lot of people were brought on board.
Before 7th December.
Yes.
But the directive said after 7th December. How do you justify it? Today I read somewhere, I think it's Ghana Exim or something. They too, appointments, I don't know if it's true, but I read that appointments that were made in September, they said, but the directive, as bad as it is, said after 7th December. Isn't that what the directive said? So why are people being removed even though they were appointed before 7th December? Is this the reset? You know, you look at the oral, the Operation Recover. I mean, everybody is interested in fighting corruption.
Yeah.
I don't know who can say that they are not interested in fighting corruption. So this oral said, we are going to recover all.
Yes, Operation Recover All Loot.
But look at...
And there's another one, OPAL, Operation Prevent All Loot as well.
But look at what has happened. Now, people are saying, not NPP, the civil society is saying, is it oral or what is it? OCAL, cover all loot or so. Huh?
But what is wrong with the oral? I mean, what is wrong with the oral? And what is the problem that the NPP has with the oral?
Like I say,
the NPP are afraid that things have been done under the cover of darkness and they are going to be exposed, and so there is no resistance of oral.
There is no NPP person who is opposed to the principle of fighting corruption or recovering the fruits of corruption. Nobody has been against the principle. In fact, it has to be a cardinal principle of any government. It is the method that they have in issues. It seems quite clearly that it's a partisan. They say you're going to recover all loot. You take what they call the state capture, the lands.
Yes.
So, is it possible that since 1999, when this policy of giving out state lands, is it possible that since 1999, no NDC member has been given state land? So, if there's going to be investigation, I mean, you saw the vetting. Quite a few ministers admitted that they've benefited from state lands, isn't it? You saw the vetting, at least I remember 2 of them. So, if you're going to look at the alienation of state land, do it comprehensively. When you limit it to just a narrow period, the last 5 years or so, then you have partisaned the fight against corruption. I can't imagine. They said they looked at 236 cases and they shortlisted 36 and presented a report on 36. So is it possible that none of them involve any NDC person? And then you look at even the language in the report. Mind you, one of the key members of the oral, the committee, Domelovo, who's quite a respected former Auditor General.
Yes,
he has said that many of the findings, findings in the report have to be audited. That's what he has said. But you look at the language in the report, clearly partisan. They use headings like Bawumia's aide has grabbed land. The Bawumia's aide hasn't got a name. And the president's daughter has grabbed land. President Akufo-Addo's niece. So you look at even the language in the report, clearly partisan.
But should all of this matter? Because the president has said, okay, well, I mean, and some of the members of oral have also said, well, it's not everything. Some of them are hearsay, some of them don't really have any evidential value and all of that, but they've got all that information. And they've put together reports. And the president says the appropriate state agencies and investigative bodies will look at it, look at the merits, and then where they need to take action, they take action. Where there isn't enough evidence, they let it go. So should it really be a problem?
Because you can't fight corruption when you make it a partisan fight. You see.
But the president has also said, I mean, his own people are not going to be immune or shielded. And so they should also beware.
This is not the first time NDC is in office. They were in office as recently as 2016. So it's not like 100 years ago. So if you're going to look at, say, the alienation of state lands, and you pretend that it's only NPP people who got state lands, then you are not being fair to your own work. You've partisaned it. And if you think you make progress when you don't do an objective work, you're not going to make much progress.
So how should it have been done in your investigation?
Do a holistic
have done their work?
Do a holistic work. You see, because you say you are going to recover all. All, not some. If there's looting, it has to be recovered. And you want to recover all. But what they are doing is like, we are going to try to recover some. And a key member says that, look, many of these findings, we have to subject them to audit, But then you look at the language.
Yeah, so is that not a good thing if he says we have to subject it to audit?
Yeah, but when you look at the report,
showing that, well, I mean, they are not just going to go with any rumor that somebody has stolen something somewhere.
You look at the reports, the language itself. Akufo-Addo's daughter, as if the person is not a person in their own right. Akufo-Addo's niece, Bawumia's aide, Bawumia's brother, Bawumia's this. Here's a case where you yourself, you are saying that these things have to be subject to audit. And mind you, these things will have to go to court if that's what it should be.
Yeah.
So when you present your report in this way, where you stigmatize people and you narrow the period, then it becomes like a witch hunt. So I'm saying that it can be done better. Nobody is against the principle of fighting corruption and recovering the fruits of corruption. But you have to do it well. If you don't do it well, I can tell you, it will not get anywhere.
You don't think the oral is doing a good job at all?
I'm saying the principle is good,
but they are not doing it well.
But the way they've gone about it,
it's partisan.
It's selective. It's like a witch.
So it's
hunt.
A witch hunt.
Yes.
You believe that it's
clear.
It's a witch hunt.
I've shown you why. I've shown you. Go and look at the language in the report.
Right, and you've mentioned that, but and we're supposed to be ending at 10, but we'll have an extension of 10 minutes.
Okay.
And so we'll do that. What do you make of?
I am quite intrigued about some of the measures that they've announced that may amount to cost cutting.
Yes.
Because we're a poor country. Whether we can do the things that we do, we're a poor country. We're desperately poor. So anything that can allow us to save some money will be supported. The president says that nobody is going to travel first class.
Yeah.
I think the intention is good, but I don't know if he's going to hit the mark. Because really, it is not in fact, most airlines do not have the so-called first class anyway. So it is not a class that they travel, high-ranking public officers travel in, that is the problem. It is the rate of travel. And if we can do a study over the last, let's say, 16 years of the cost of foreign travel by officials, we'll be scandalized. So it is not the class that they travel, it is the usefulness of those travels, the rationalization that is key. And he also said that he's going to do independence celebration at the Jubilee House.
Yes.
One of the things that Akufo-Addo government had done was the rotation of the independence celebration.
From region to region.
From region to region. Because the effect on national cohesion and inclusiveness, you cannot underestimate it. But you can still do it in a way that cuts costs. Okay? So look at the elements of the celebration and see which elements can be cut off. But the principle of the rotation, I think, is very good for inclusiveness and for national cohesion.
I mean, but there's already a holiday, is there not? And we're observing the day as Independence Day, and there's going to be a commemoration of it.
Yeah.
A very small, not very flashy or extravagant one.
Yes, I'm saying
at the Jubilee House.
I'm saying you can maintain the rotation because of the positive impact it has on national inclusiveness and national cohesion.
So I say instead of the Jubilee House, it goes to maybe another region, and it's done only in that region and not anywhere else.
Yes,
is that the
so you rotate it. But you can still look at the elements of the celebration and cut off some of those things that you can cut off. That's what I'm saying. So you still would get the advantage of the rotation and still look at the organization and see what you can cut. You see, that's what I'm saying. Instead of sacrificing the principle of the rotation, because it also has a positive effect, that you shouldn't lose.
But you laud the attempt to
cut the idea to cut costs. Because every government that comes, they say they will cut costs. I can't remember any government that didn't pledge to cut costs. So if there's some effort to save money, it's good. But we should look, I'm just saying it should be better fine-tuned. The travels, for example, instead of looking at the class,
you should look at the number of travels.
Look at the rationale, the usefulness of each travel.
All right.
And all of that. So and also look at how you can still do your rotation and still cut costs.
Still cut costs. All right.
For me, let me make this point to show you where.
And we have just about 3 minutes to wrap up, and so.
There's
a question that I'd want to put to you before we close.
This thing that we do at the inauguration of the independence, have they told you the cost? They haven't. But I believe that inauguration, that huge thing that we stage, we can do it in Parliament House. On the floor, because
it is Parliament House, a gathering of it's a sitting of Parliament. It
is not a sitting.
It's taken outside.
Yes. Why do you take it outside?
Yeah.
Why do you take it outside the chamber? Look, how many people go to the Independence Square? 50,000, 50,000, even 100,000. How many people watch? Millions of people are watching on television.
Yes.
So if you do it in Parliament House, you don't need to construct anything. The public gallery is there for your invited guests. The public gallery can sit about 300 people. The chamber itself for the presidents and dignitaries can sit in the chamber. And you can have a dignified ceremony in the Chamber of Parliament. Television will take it to the whole country. You save a lot of money. I'm sure if they were to tell us how much money we spent on the inauguration. So those are some of the things that we should be looking at.
All right.
What question did you have for me?
Kenneth Ofori-Atta has been declared wanted by the special prosecutor. And, there are some people in your party who say that, it's a stretch because he's not running away from justice. But the special prosecutor believes that he is running away from justice and has no intention of coming to face questioning.
You see, it's the same thing that we're talking about with the oral. You can do a good thing badly. You see, if you believe a public official has mismanaged public funds and caused financial loss to the country, it is a good thing to investigate and bring that public official to account. But you cannot, in trying to correct a wrong, also engage in wrongdoing. You see, Ken Ofori-Atta was out of the country. I think he was out of the country on the 2nd of January. The invitation to OSP came towards the end of January. Right. The man was already out. He's been corresponding with you. He's brought to your attention why, look, I'm out of the country. This is what I'm doing. I hope to be back at this time. His lawyers are in active engagement with you. Why declare him a fugitive?
Well, they said it's indefinite. I mean, not a specific time was given for when he was going to come back. He wasn't sure when he was going to come back into the country.
You haven't even charged the man.
Yeah.
You see, you haven't even charged him. You say to come and help me in my investigation. Then you declare him a fugitive. Fugitive is somebody who's running away from justice. But if you invite somebody to come, maybe even after the interview, when he speaks to you, you will find out that there's nothing to go on. Anyway, so how do you declare him a fugitive? So, in principle, we support any work that is going to hold public officials to account. Nobody will be against it, and we wish that the OSP will even do more. But his methods should be in a way that can also not be classified as wrongdoing.
All right, we've run out of time now, and so we'll have to wrap it up here. Nana Akomea, always a pleasure having you.
It's also it's a pleasure coming here again.
Thank you.
And invite me again, I'll come.
Yes, we will. We definitely will. Thank you very much for joining us. And this is where we will wrap up State of Affairs this evening here on GHOne Television. My guest has been Nana Akomea, who was Vice Chairman to the campaign team of Dr. Bawumia. My name is Lantam Papanko. Have a good evening.